What are you doing?
Apparently in India, there's been a very bad batch of bootleg liquor that's killed 150 people,
No.
which is
My.
a lot of death. But in a related story, Verizon just had 150 openings in customer support. So coincidence? I don't know. But there's that.
I was thinking that this, whatever the booze was, probably wouldn't have even phased somebody living in the Ozarks.
No,
That
no,
would just been
they would that would be like their top shelf
right?
stuff, you know.
What
This
is
is
here?
what
Water?
this is what we bring out on Sundays. You know, and there's all these people in the subcontinent just dropping dead from it. And they're like, "Yeah, you should taste the everyday stuff we're brewing up here."
Here's when the preacher comes over. Pappy gets down to the good stuff.
But anyway, as much as I could try, as much as I tried looking through that article, I couldn't find any place to order any of the aforementioned bootleg whiskey, which kind of upset me because I was willing to give it a go. You know.
Yeah, the story it says that police they said they have traced the latest deaths to batches of local hooch laced with methyl alcohol, sometimes methanol or wood alcohol. Isn't that it's like in an unfinished state, like it's a part of the brewing process?
Yeah,
And but
it's the part that you don't drink.
right. Didn't they have
Yeah,
that in Prohibition, where people would try to make their
sure.
own stuff, and
Yeah,
that would cause
bathtub
blindness and
gin. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
it's nice to see that we've learned lessons, you know.
right, exactly.
Uh, uh,
Well, that just goes to show, like when you try to outlaw stuff that people enjoy, like
no.
booze or sex or whatever, you're not going to make it go away. You just make people indulge in it in
Should I
unsafe
just
ways.
clarify here that sex has not been outlawed, right? You just
You
use
hadn't
that
heard
as an example.
you hadn't heard this?
Well, I hadn't heard this. No, this
Yeah,
is
no.
disturbing.
I pass the bill. Cause every time I hang out the kids, I'm like, all right, there nothing good has come of this. So
See, my kids would have lobbied for that because they're the kind that, like, even now, my kids are 30 or going to be 30 and 26 this year, and they see me kiss their mom and they're like, ew. So they would definitely pass that bill for sure.
you ever heard of a poop
I
train?
have
This was
never heard of a poop train,
that was
although I
new.
think I rode it once from Syracuse to New York City inadvertently.
It was before or after you got on it?
No comment. Not saying I didn't contribute to the problem.
I was like, hey, everybody else is doing it.
Really.
I don't want to be the outsider and make anybody feel awkward.
So, so it's the article was just brilliantly written. I mean, they must have this guy in a closet that they don't let out except for when they need puns, and he was out all day that day because, I mean, they started out with the town where it happened, which I guess is Parrish, Alabama, became the butt of many jokes, and
One of the first
they've
lines is Alabama's poop train is no longer raising a
raising a
stink.
stink. Yes. And then towards the end of the story, they tell us that they've got the problem flushed out now.
Yeah, you're right. There's some guy in a cubicle, like just leaning back in his chair, kicking his legs with glee. Like,
Yep.
I
They
don't ever
finally
have
got
to
me
work
right,
again.
something.
I'm a genius.
There's a kid or something, you know.
But I am kind of horrified that there's such a thing as a poop train, and I'm sure it's just because I'm, sheltered, live a sheltered life. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess my vision is that it's flushed away and it's treated
and just goes away.
and just goes away.
Like
But
that Jack Black movie. Do you remember that? It was him and someone else invented this stuff that when you put a few drops of it on dog poop, it would just vanish. And so they became millionaires. But then it was revealed that when it vanished, it all appeared in the same place somewhere else. So there's this monstrous mountain of dog poop, and they're getting sued and everything else. I wish I could remember the name of
nobody
the
can
movie.
figure out where it's coming
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
But yeah, this is a thing. It was I can't remember what was the town's name. Do you remember?
Parish, Alabama.
Yeah, and apparently it's just northwest of Birmingham. It's a town of 982 people. They were complaining that the smell from the train was making the outdoors unbearable, sending the odor of excrement wafting whichever way the wind was blowing. Can't come out here and barbecue like I used to, Parish resident Robert Nash said. I know the flies were getting in my house. There are parts of this article that read like something you or I would have put on
Oh
a
yeah,
blog. I mean,
definitely.
it really does. But it's a real thing.
I mean, we could have like stripped the NBC News header off and just reposted it on our blog, and probably no one would have noticed because I don't think anybody ever read it other than you and I. But
Well,
yeah,
here's something I find suspicious. Apparently, the train was coming from New York.
hmm,
Like, I don't want to
could
cast any aspersions,
could have been that same
but
train I
it was,
rode to New
yeah.
York City.
Right?
Just they kept filling it after that because I'm talking 1979. This was so imagine that's like 30 years worth, 40 years worth of poop collected on that train, and then of course New York is send it to Alabama.
Right.
Screw them. And don't ask us what time it is. Eat it.
Apparently, the landfill there has been accepting biosolids from New York since last year, but New York said it would stop sending shipments there. And then this is ominous. The article actually says, at least for now.
Till the next article that pops up that says poop train in state Y instead of Alabama. You know, it could be anyone except for maybe Hawaii and Alaska are not immune to New York City poop.
Well, yeah, we end up with next we'll be hearing about poop barges.
Right.
Actually, I don't think anybody would dare send it, to Hawaii. That would be.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room to store it there for when they. Probably what we're going to see next is it being sold in post offices in Russia. That'll be the next thing. We now have beer, pig calendars, and human waste. Yeah. Everything you could want.
Or the solution to getting rid of human waste, just to mail it around. Like just mail it to somebody, they mail it back to you. You ship it over there, and you get drunk while you're doing it if you're in Russia.
I guess that would be the biological version of regifting, repooping.
What else you got?
Oh, talking about Eric Thurm, who's a mutual friend of ours. The last time the three of us were together, several pitchers of beers were magically vanished before our eyes. But one of the things that he does, and you guys talked about it in the interview, is Easter eggs. He puts a lot of street names that are his friends' last names, things like that. Have you ever done anything like that in any of your work?
To a much lesser extent.
Yeah, because he's made a career out of it at this point.
Yes, it's. I think it's part of his marketing strategy.
Yeah.
No, I hope I'm not spoiling anything for him.
Well, he said that in the interview. Okay. He came right out and said that. So.
All right. So I'm and it's been very limited. Like I've put you, like, little references to you in some of the Serenity books. There's always somebody named Scott.
Yeah, and he usually never actually appears. And he's just always talked about. And or he's a killer, or he's a couple of killers. Yeah, but I've appreciated it every time. I'm like, every time you write something new, I'm like, what horrible person named Scott will appear in this story?
I think I forgot to do it the last time.
Yeah, it's okay.
So that was, and then I've done a couple of smaller things, like inside jokes with a couple of friends that
Mm,
they're probably the only ones who would get it,
right.
assuming they actually would read the book. But yeah, it's not something I do a lot of. I think it's pretty clever. I
Yeah,
think
I do
it's
too.
a good idea.
I can't recall ever having actually done it, at least as far as a name. The one thing he talked about in the interview that I have done is references to other works.
Mm.
He specifically used the one where someone was reading one of your books.
Right.
In County Carolina, I made references to uh, Spyco and to my Sarah of Quadar series. Very, very subtle. I just had JJ, who is Dan and Nicole's daughter, reading a fantasy book on her dad's Kindle, and that's all I said. But I knew which fantasy
Right.
book it was. And then actually, I think it's the other way around. In one of the Spycos, I made reference to Cleanup Crew, because it was in the short story where, or was it? I don't know,
I
somewhere
think it
where there was
was.
a
Yeah.
fair amount of blood, and one of the agents said he knew of a good company for cleaning up that sort of thing. Yeah, so that's my Easter egg story. Is those couple of little things I've slipped in there.
Yeah.
It's fun though. It's
It
fun to do.
is. Yeah. It's fun to do, and it's certainly fun, for the people who are
Right.
reading it, especially if they're not expecting it. Read it like,
Yep.
wait a minute,
That's my name.
So,
And I know the author. Could this be a coincidence?
yeah, part of me is like, well, that's something you can also be careful with. Like if you put the wrong person in,
Sure.
some people have odd, uh, you know, feelings about something like that.
Right, right. Like that would be an invasion of privacy or something along those lines.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're definitely going to want to, for all you aspiring writers out there, if you're going to mention people in your books, make sure it's people that can't sue you. So, and I guess anybody can sue you. So, if they are someone who can sue you, make sure you kill them before you release them.
Yeah, speaking of Easter eggs, I know of a good murderer.
Yeah, we've popped him into just about every conversation we've ever had, especially when we're talking about someone who annoys us. We're talking about our character, the Velvet Glove,
Yeah.
who we've just come to adore because he works so well in so many situations. In fact, we'll be talking about someone who annoys us, and we'll just on Messenger or something like that, and the two letters VG will just appear. Then automatically we know what we're talking about.
He's such a hard worker,
He is.
and he works very hard to perfect and hone his craft. You kind of have to respect somebody who spends so much time getting good at what they're doing.
Right.
And
to the point where he's so confident in his abilities that he just usually will start out the conversation with, "Well, I'm here to kill you."
Right.
There's not really anything you can do about it.
I'm a murderer. How are you? Yeah, and he's very he's well heeled and very cultured fellow, and so he's just very pleasant. So it's also the type of guy you wouldn't expect. And I will have to say that in his defense, that there are times when the people he takes out kind of deserved it.
Definitely.
So, yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, he has some dark sides to his personality. Like
Well,
little thing with the heads. I mean,
a collection of severed heads under the bed.
Who doesn't have little,
I was actually going to make a joke about it because I was thinking at one point that if my dog came in, I would move the camera so you could see him. But I was going to say I'm leery about doing that because I'm afraid when I go to put it back, it will fall behind the monitor and you'll see the severed head collection.
Most awkward moment in online television history. One of the hosts reveals his secret collection of severed heads.
I didn't take them myself. I bought them. I bought them on what is that? Groupon.
Buy 5 heads, get 5. I mean, nobody's going to pass up a deal like that.
You can't. How can you?
No, I mean, heads are hard to come by, and if you got a bulk discount, then hell.
Really? Hey, I got a gift yesterday from a good friend at my writers group. that if I had owned in my younger years, I would have had a lot less explaining to do. It says, in dog beers, I've only had one. I can just see a happy, bright future for me now using this new counting system.
I mean, yeah, it's sort of like wearing a T-shirt that just says "I'm drunk."
Yeah, right.
I mean, you've already explained it. There's no reason for somebody to come up and be like, "Hey, have you been drinking?"
Yeah, right. It's right here. It's right here on the shirt. And so is most of what I was drinking for the last hour on the shirt.
Just do all the explaining up front. And if you can do it without speaking, that's even better. Like I saw Nick Swartzen, the comedian, was doing an interview, and I saw the other day, earlier today, actually. And he is wearing a T-shirt that says, "You single? I'm diarrhea." So, it was just getting it out there. Just get it over with, and that way, if the conversation proceeds, you can assume that whoever you're talking to is okay with the information that you've just provided them.
Exactly. So. And the other 99.9% of Earth's population who doesn't talk to you is giving you the same message in reverse.
And that's okay, as long as you found that one person who enjoys diarrhea.
That's right. There's probably one out there. Or like, more than one, probably.
Why are you with your wife? Like, well, she puts up with my diarrhea. State police say a Western New York man faked his own abduction and robbery because he was short of cash owed in a Super Bowl pool. Troopers found 60-year-old Robert Brandel, or Brandel, I don't know how he pronounces it, from North Tonawanda, is that right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Tied up in his pickup truck Monday in a parking lot in Newfane, 30 miles north of Buffalo. Brandel told troopers 2 men involved in his Super Bowl squares robbed him of $16,000, drove him around for 2 days, and then just left him tied up in his pickup. Because that's what kidnappers need.
Sure, that's the way it's done, I believe.
Yeah, they don't just take your money. They drive around, show you a good time, so you don't feel too badly about it.
And then just leave you in front of the supermarket or something, yeah.
Okay, it's been fun. Thanks for the dough. Investigators determined Brandel had entered some fake names in his $50,000 squares pool, hoping to take most of the winnings, but instead ended up short for the payments. Well, who didn't see that coming? Well,
him. Other than him, no one. But
Robert Brandel. Bob Brandel. Brandel was charged with fraud and falsely reporting an incident. It couldn't be determined if he has a lawyer to comment. I mean, normally the stories are like, a request for comment has not been returned. I just like it could be determined.
We don't even know if he's got a lawyer.
Yeah, he's probably like, I had one, but he was kidnapped.
We haven't seen him in several days.
Oh, people, they get themselves into such. It is. If people weren't so entertaining, I'd say, put them all up against the wall.
Yeah, exactly. But then what would we have to talk about? Right. So, 1,500 smuggled turtles found alive in abandoned luggage at Manila Airport.
How many?
1,500. Did I say 15,000?
I don't
1,500, know. Even 1,500. Come on.
I thought you said. I thought you said you were 15 or 1,500. I was like,
1,500, yeah.
Geez.
And in 6 different suitcases that went unclaimed. Now, somewhere, there's a guy driving around going, I feel like I forgot something.
He gets home like, my turtles!
My 1,500 turtles! Damn it.
Does the article explain why there were that many turtles, or there were any turtles in luggage?
They expect that it was they were being smuggled in to be sold as exotic pets. But there's one image that I find extremely disturbing, all because it probably wouldn't bother me at all if not for this old joke that I knew. But some of the turtles were wrapped up in duct tape.
Oh.
Now, I can't really see why you would do that for a turtle, although there is an old joke about why you should always wrap a gerbil in duct tape that I am not going to give the punchline to. because it's probably one of the most disturbing jokes that I've ever heard. But I didn't forget it, so obviously it's stuck in my head all these many years. But yeah, those poor little turtles. I hope that's not what's going on there with all that duct tape on them.
Yeah. I mean, did,
Maybe these ones, the shells were a little loose and they wanted to make sure they weren't going to fall off.
these are
Because if you
defective
remember in
turtles.
the old Looney Tunes movies, they could take their shell off whenever they
Right. Yeah.
wanted.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean,
So
everything in those cartoons was perfectly plausible, too. I
it's
mean,
it's
pianos
not
falling
real.
on people. Right.
Yeah. You get flattened out and turn into an accordion and all those things that we've seen happen in the real world.
You jump up in the air, your legs spin, and when you hit the ground, you're going really fast.
Yeah,
I
or
was,
you fall, but until you realize that there's nothing under you, you just hang there in the air.
I I always wanted to do that. I would jump up in the air, and then get my legs going, then
Yeah.
I don't remember how old I was when I realized that wouldn't be possible, and it was very disappointing. So,
Yeah.
never got over it. What else you got?
Well, a map maker, mountain surveyor, says the line between the two countries of England and Wales has been wrongly traced on Ordnance Survey maps dating back to 1887. And the gist of the article is that Wales may have to return this land to England. Now, the twist is that Britain has requested that they actually bring the land to London so they can decide whether they want it, what they're going to do with it. They don't want to have to travel all the way to Wales. So,
Test out the quality of the land. Like,
yeah, see if, can we
Yeah.
plant something in it? Does it, make good underarm deodorant? Who knows?
Nope, it's terrible. You can keep it. Take it away.
And probably, like, if you've ever seen the Welsh language, their word for dirt is probably like 18 characters long, and they're like, no, too many syllables, take it away. We are not amused.
How are they still dealing with this?
Yeah, I know. You think things like that you'd have worked out, especially, the United Kingdom is an island, so there's only so much of it to go around,
Right.
and it's got a very, very long history. You should have worked this shit out by now, people.
You think, yeah, somebody should have noticed by now. And it's not like you're going to just discover more land than you knew you had. Like,
Yeah, right.
I didn't realize I had this. What do you know?
It has to belong to someone, but we'll call it Wales. Crazy.